trials of their times. So we brothers and sisters with o'er my door carry on with their song in our lives. We'll sing out this song for years to come in a story without an end. For how good it is to be among our brothers and sisters and friends. Hine mato manai shevet achim gam yachad. Hine mato manai shevet achim gam yachad. Together.
This morning, I told a story to the kids in the summer camp. We have a virtual summer camp in the morning. So there are 45 kids on my screen. There are 45 kids on my screen. I'm just not using it right, that's all. And I told them it's my favorite story, one of my favorite stories of the tradition. It's about a person, ironically, who gives up on life and finds no satisfaction in his work or his family or his relationships. So he offers a prayer to God. I've had enough. Show me the way to paradise. And because he lived a righteous life, God asks him a question. Is that really what you want? And he says, yeah, I'm ready. So God says, okay, leave the village, turn right, walk for a few days. You'll get there. He says, that's all I have to do. He says, that's all you need to do. So one afternoon, he leaves the shop, closes the shop, and takes off, turns right, walks and walks and walks and walks. And as night falls and he begins to get tired, he decides he'll stop and rest under a tree beside a stream. And just before he falls off into sleep, it occurs to him that in the morning he might forget which was the way. And not wanting to return home, he looks for something to leave at the roadside as a marker, and there's nothing to leave. So he simply takes his shoes off and leaves them pointed toward paradise. He sleeps soundly and restfully, and in the morning he wakes up. And what this poor fool doesn't know is that somehow in life, shoes get turned around. Now, whether it's an angel or whether it's an imp or whether he just had a moment of confusion or whether it was a squirrel or a fox, but somehow shoes, they get turned around in life. It happens. And he gets in his shoes and he starts walking, and a half a day's journey, he sees a village on the hillside. And his heart beats with joy. I've made it. I've arrived in paradise. And he runs down the glen and up the hill, and he enters the village, and he sits and he watches. Children playing, children in school, adults at their work. And he's so taken with the life of the place. He spends the whole time just absorbing the music of the place. And then as evening comes, he smells the smell of cooking all around him, and he wonders, it looks so much like my village, paradise does. I wonder if there's a street like mine. So he goes looking, and just where he thought it might be, there it is. And then a strange thought occurs to him. Maybe there's a house, looks like my house here in paradise. And he walks up the street, and just where he thinks it might be, there it is. And at that very moment, a woman who looked remarkably like his wife comes to the door and calls his name and says, come in, your soup is getting cold. And he offers a prayer. There's a place set for me in paradise. He says, I don't know what you're talking about, but come in and eat your soup. And he comes into this home, and he is immediately taken with the life and love of this home. Takes one spoonful of soup, puts the spoon down, throws his arms around that woman and says, you're an angel. She says, good, because I have a whole pot of it on the stove. He eats the soup. He sleeps restfully that night. In the morning, he goes off to his work. And he finds that in paradise, work is different. It comes with a sense of service, of creativity. And at night, he comes back to that loving home, more of that soup, the company of that wonderful woman. Do you know that old fool lived out his whole life and nobody could convince him he hadn't made it to paradise? So what is Shabbos? It is the technology of turning shoes around, of taking all the limitations and all of the stress and all of the burdens of the week and turning them upside down and recognizing that for a few hours we have a little paradise here, a little paradise in being together, a little paradise in the opportunities to celebrate Shabbos, to celebrate life, a little paradise just here and just now and just us. So stand if you would and join the Cantor as we welcome the angels of Shabbos Shalom Aleichem, and then we'll begin together the prayers of Kabbalat Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malchei HaShabbat, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malchoni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
You're welcome to be seated. In the prayer book, it's the very first page, but it's labeled 15. Don't ask me why. We'll join together.
Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. Clapping's good. Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. Ria na ria, letzuri sheik, amachana v'toda. Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. Ki el gadol Adonai, melech gadol Adol Elohim. Ki el gadol Adonai, melech gadol Adol Elohim. Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. Lekun ranena, lekun ranena, lekun ranena, Ladonai. 40 shana kut bedor, ve'omaram to'ele bavim, ve'hem lo yanu dirachai, asher nishpati be'api, im yevon el menuchati.
Jump to page 17. The last two lines on the page, or Zarur. Right?
Lai, 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 tzadikim Adonai v'chol zecher kosher. Zivot tzadikim Adonai v'chol zecher kosher.
And no one ever accused the Jewish people of being a seafaring people. Norwegians, yes. Portuguese, yes. If you live in Nantucket, yes. But Jews, not so much. But we have a coastline, you know, and it's a beautiful coastline. And there are boats that go out onto the Mediterranean. And if you've ever been in, there's certain parts of Tel Aviv where there are actually fishermen that go out there. So there's a psalm that talks about that moment. And one of the most remarkable moments when you really realize what the psalmist was trying to do is if you've ever been on the coast of Tel Aviv during a thunderstorm. So you grew up there, so you remember that. There's these storms come off of the Mediterranean, and they're remarkably powerful storms, and they rattle everything. And that's what the psalmist experienced. And he imagines for this moment that it's not just a thunderstorm coming off the sea, but somehow this was an echo of the moment when the world was created, when the sea was pushing back against God's orders to be cosmos, and sea and land and mountain and valley all needed to be shaped and formed and put into order. And when they were all put into order, they all joined together, and they prayed too. Tonight we pray, and the sea prays, and the rivers pray, and the mountains pray. Page 18, the next page, 4 lines up from the bottom. You got to sing with the cantor. You sing what he sings. Get on the sea, feel the waves. Come on, you got to feel the waves. A little bit of wavy here. Come on. Feel the wind in your face and the spray of the boat.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Veil veyom shveima. Yiram hayamu milo.
Come on, get in a boat. Come on.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Veil veyom shveima. Yiram hayamu milo. Neharorim ha'ocha. Ay, 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 ay. Yachararim yiramino. Neharorim ha'ocha. Ay, 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 ay. Yachararim yiramino.
No, but I'd like to know why I can't watch it.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Veil veyom shveima. Yiram hayamu milo. Neharorim ha'ocha. Ay, 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 ay. Yachararim yiramino. Neharorim ha'ocha. Ay, 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 ay. Yachararim yiramino. Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Yiram hayamu milo.
Veil veyom shveima. Yiram hayamu milo.
And the reason you don't think of us as a seafaring people is because most of Jewish history took place on mountaintops, on Sinai in the desert, and on Mount Zion in Jerusalem. And that's where we went for pilgrimage. It was the most sacred tradition that 3 times in the year, or at least once in the year, or at least once in your lifetime, you made pilgrimage up to Jerusalem. And pilgrimage up to Jerusalem was a great collective experience, because as you gathered from all the 4 corners of the world at the bottom of the hillside and began the journey upward, it's a long, long, long hillside upward. Today it's Kvish Echad. It's road number 1 in Israel, and it's slower now than it was 2,000 years ago. And you take this journey up to the mountaintop, and you gather with Jews, Israelites from every corner of the world, anticipating the moment when we'd stand together on the mountaintop and be together with the God of our ancestors. And the song of that pilgrimage upward on page 19, 3 lines up from the bottom, Romemu, which means rise up.
Romemo, Romemo, Romemo Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu l'Adon raglav kodoshu. Romemo, Romemo, Romemo Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu l'Adon raglav kodoshu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Romemo, Romemo, Romemo Adonai Eloheinu, Ishtachavu l'Adon raglav kodoshu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Romemo, Romemo, Romemo Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu l'Adon raglav kodoshu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
Now I'm going to take you from the coastline from Jerusalem north to a little town in the north of Israel called Sfat. It's spelled Safed in English, but it's called Sfat, not far from the Sea of Galilee in Tiberia. Now, in that city, in the 16th century, gathered a group of refugees. They were all refugees from Spain, and they were mystics. They had an inner desire, a deep, unquenchable passion to know the face of God, to know the truth about God. And these mystics who had all left Spain were possessed with one theological problem. How could it be that a perfect, good God, loving God, could create a world filled with such suffering, such brokenness, such difficulty? And they arrived at a theological system, imagining that God was not a static thing, but a dynamic, not even one as much as a coordinated or sometimes uncoordinated series of forces. And they came up with this remarkable imagination that God is made up of 10 separate forces, 10 separate sort of centers of power, 10 separate facets of personality, 9 of which were masculine and 1 was feminine. And that there was this explosion, this terrible crisis in the life of God, where the feminine of God was separated from the masculine, where the power of God was separated from God's compassion and kindness. And the world that we live in is the world that is the product of that crisis. They adopted a sort of medieval troubadour's fairy tale, that the princess had been kidnapped by the dark forces, and the prince was bereft in his palace because his princess had been taken from him. And there came along a knight errant, a brave knight, who promised the prince to go rescue the princess. And that was the mystic. That was the Jewish people. So you're all now recruited to a mythical journey. You ready? We're going to go rescue the princess. Now, to get to the princess, we have to pass 6 tests, 6 demons, in order to get to the castle where the princess is held captive. Are you ready to do that? We don't have to, because you did it already. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And now comes Friday, and we have battled these demons and arrived at the castle and saved the princess and stuck her on the back of the horse, and we're riding back toward the prince. And we send word to the prince, we're coming back with the princess. We're coming back with your beloved. We're coming back with the treasure of your life. We're going to reunite the princess and the prince. We're going to reunite God's kindness with God's power. We're going to reunite the Shekhinah with the other sfirot of God's personality. And that's what Shabbos is. And the song of that reunification is on page 21 in the booklet. Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Now, you have to know that this is a song filled with all sorts of code. Just to start the code, just so you'll see what I'm talking about. Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. How many words? You can answer this out loud, but just don't scream it too loud. 7 words, right? 7 words, because 7 is the number of completion, right? 6 days we have fought the demon, and on the 7th day we come back to be together. There are 7 sfirot on the top, and the Shekhinah is the one on the bottom. She is the 7th one, and she is the completion, right? And then each of the verses with lines taken from various places in the tradition, particularly the book of Psalms, hints at this marvelous reunification where kindness and power come together, where imagination and vision is given permission to reign in the world, and wholeness, shlemut, Shabbat Shalom, comes to be very real. All right, so get ready. We're about to attend a wedding to reunite the prince and the princess, to reunite kindness with compassion, to reunite possibility with vision, and to bring the Shabbos among us.
Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'mikor echad each mi'anu el hamichad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo l'tiferet v'litera Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi metor amerada merosh mikedem mesucha so ma'aseh v'machshava ilah Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri Giva orech umi ori Shir daveri Kevod Adonai alai nilah Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat kavela Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat
Everyone, please stand together and face the entrance.
Boi v'shalom ateret mana Gam simcha u'tola toch emunei hamsekuma Boi kala Adoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat hum with me.
Jump together to the beginning of the Mariv prayers that's found on page 28. Please be seated. Baruch atah melech haolam. Asher b'doro Mariv aravim b'chacham.
ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבים. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בבוקרך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ויורך ימינו, ויורך ימינו, ובהם נגד יומם ולילה. מאהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. Please join me at the top of page 29. Sorry? This door goes the other way, doesn't it? ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ויעשו להם ציצית al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam benatenu al tzitzit hakanaf betil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit הוריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, amen.
It is Erev Yontif tonight, of course. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. And as Jews who live in America, we feel a very particular loyalty to this place because of the very interesting congruence between the Jewish story and the American story. We've lived in many countries. Almost every country on the globe at one point or another hosted a Jewish community, but no diaspora, no place outside of our own, no diaspora community has ever welcomed Jews the way America has, for a very simple reason. Because the Jewish story and the American story are congruent. We have a story. We were slaves to a tyrant. We escaped from that tyrant, rebelled against him, crossed a mighty wilderness, arrived in a promised land that was given us by a bountiful and loving God. The American story is the parallel story. And it's not an accident that this country begins with a rebellion against the tyrant. It's not an accident that the document that we'll read tomorrow morning as the sacred document talks about the inalienable rights given to every human being by the Creator, that God is all over the Declaration of Independence. It's not an accident because the founders of this country were biblical people, people that read the Bible, and they saw in their own struggles a reflection and echo of the Jewish struggle, the great Jewish story. Benjamin Franklin wanted to make the national seal, the symbol of the country, an image of Moses crossing the Red Sea with the Israelites. And when we chose to have a Thanksgiving holiday to celebrate, it's a damn good thing they chose a turkey, because if they'd chosen a ham, we'd have a very different American experience. But even if you have to overpay for a kosher turkey, at least you can eat what everybody else eats. We make this country ours because this country's deep, abiding narrative of freedom from tyranny, of a rebellion against the tyrant, of the independence and dignity of human beings within this society. These are themes from our Torah. So we remember this moment, both for our own story and for the story of this country. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai. We were slaves to a tyrant in Egypt. We were slaves and our parents were slaves and their parents were slaves and then before that. And then suddenly, in a moment of apocalyptic redemption, we crossed the sea, and there at the other side of the sea, we breathed a sigh of relief and knew that we were free for the first time in generations. And we sang a song of thanksgiving to a God who gave us this gift of freedom.
Lai 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 lai. Hai 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 hai. Hai lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar makom. Nora tehilot, o sefer kifada Adonai et Yaakov, ugelo meyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
Pray for a night of peace and a morning to awaken to life again. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Let us go to sleep tonight in peace and awaken in the morning to life. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Spread above us a sukkah, a shelter of peace. V'tachnenu b'yetzat tova milfanecha v'osheinu leman shemecha v'yagen b'yadenu v'yaser mi'aleinu oyev dever v'cherev v'rav v'yagon. Remove all that threatens us and all that brings us fear. V'haser satan milfanenu mi'acharenu. Ki el melech shomrenu matzilenu ata ki melech hanun v'rachum ata. U'shmor tzeitzeinu v'einu l'chaim v'shalom mi'ata v'ad olam. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha baruch atah Adonai. Aporei sukkot shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Let's rise together and recite together the prayers of Shabbos v'shamru b'nei Yisrael.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושומרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושומרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושומרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון וביומכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל. שמי לקודשא בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירם בעלמא ויאמרו
Take a few moments now for personal and quiet prayer. You'll find the words of the Amidah beginning on page 35 in the booklet, or just a few quiet moments with your own prayers.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levavet et Amcha Yisrael. Ve'oleit u'vechol sha'am b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We all know that we are experiencing in this country and in this city a rather shocking spike in the incidence of the virus. We know friends, members of the community, members of families who have been diagnosed with the virus. We know friends who are in a hospital. We have friends who are in ICU, under ventilators, or struggling for life. We have friends who work as physicians, as nurses, as technicians, as caregivers, who put on 2-3 layers of PPE every day, face shields, masks, and go in to fight the virus, to bring healing and to bring comfort. We know families who stand outside the windows of those facilities with a sense of desperation, unable to hold the hands of their loved ones who are suffering. And so we take a moment now, before we complete our Shabbat prayers, to just simply turn our thoughts to all of them and to ask God's strength and blessing for all of them. We ask blessings for those who are ill. We ask blessings for those who are caregivers and caretakers. We ask blessings for those who act responsibly to lead this society toward healing and toward health. We ask God's blessings for those who take the extra moment to do what's right, to put on a mask, to wash, to take care of those around them. Yirat son shetishlach refuah shlema min hashamayim, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, l'kol hacholim b'kilatenu hakdosha, b'tok shar cholei Yisrael, b'tok shar cholei yoshvei tevel, b'kol ha'oskim b'tzarcheihem. Godesh Baruch Hu yishmor aleihem, v'yishlach lahem bracha, v'hatzlacha, v'refuah. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei Cholei Amo Yisrael. May it be your will, God, to send your wisdom and your strength to those who suffer, to bring them refuat hanefesh, strength of spirit, refuat haguf, the power of the body, and to protect those who give care and healing and hope, and to send us soon the capacity to care for each other and to cleanse the world of this plague so that we might resume once again the lives of families, of communities, of friendship, and of love. Praised are you, God, healer of the people Israel and healer of us all. Amen. Amen.
Aleinu. And now you hum back. Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשה כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. Everybody, עלינו, חלקנו כהם, ואור עלינו ככל העמונם. שם חלקנו כהם, ואור עלינו ככל העמונם. עלינו, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz. Hayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad.
As this service comes to an end, to remember loved ones who've passed from this world, but whose memories still live with us. If there's someone you're remembering, please remain standing. Everyone else may please be seated. This week, our community here at VBS remembers Alan Schneider. He's the husband of Helene, father of Pam and Barbara. Alan succumbed to the COVID virus, and we remember him with great love, together with his family, his 5 grandchildren, and his dear friends. We remember as well Jean Schwartz, who's the mother of Laura Burston. Remember with Laura and her family, her mother's elegance and her kindness. And with the whole world that loves to laugh, we remember Carl Reiner, who made us laugh on so many occasions. And he was one of us, so Kaddish is appropriate. He was one of us in so many ways, in the humor he brought, in the perspective he brought on this world. And we join with his family and all of his fans in remembering his great creativity. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagalau v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam u'me'ol maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekut shabrichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Please be seated. We'd like to welcome everyone here. Shabbat Shalom, and everyone who's watching online. We wish you as well Shabbat Shalom, a very pleasant and sweet Shabbat, and a very, very wonderful 4th of July holiday. A very big thank you to those who made this service tonight possible, to Orit Rappaport, who was our facilities manager and the guardian of all things protected. So thank you to Orit for your wonderful enthusiasm for keeping us safe. Matt Weintraub is here tonight. He is the executive director of the synagogue. We want to thank Matt for all of his efforts in keeping the synagogue moving during this very difficult time. Matt's leaving for some very well-deserved vacation tomorrow or Sunday. So we wish you all of our blessings as you go get some rest. Forget about us. Enjoy your Kinderlach and your wife and have some time to rest. And we'd like to welcome, sitting next to Matt is Jeff Goss. And this is the first Shabbat Jeff serves as president of Valley Beth Shalom. So in the tradition of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and all the others down through history, on Mount Rushmore will soon be a statue of Goss. So thank you, Jeff. Welcome. We're delighted to honor you with this and delighted to be working with you. And thank you for helping us with the video tonight. And thank you to the Cantor for his wonderful davening tonight. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Couple of quick announcements, because what would shul be like without announcements? Tomorrow morning, we'll be back online. So that little screen, that'll be us. 9 o'clock Torah study. 10 o'clock, Cantor and I will be leading Shabbos davening online. 11:30, our dear friend, Rabbi Hillel Silverman, will be leading us with some wonderful thoughts about the Torah portion. Tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m., we'll go outside and make Havdalah. It'll be online. Please come and join us. And because it's 4th of July and it'll be Motzi Yontif, we'll be singing some patriotic songs together. So come outside. There's no fireworks allowed in the county of Los Angeles, but we'll make our own. So we'll have a little good some time together. These next weeks of July, we're going to be keeping some of the same schedule. There'll be morning minyan every morning and evening minyan every evening. I'll be teaching my lunch and learn for the next few weeks. Cantor, Rabbi Hoffman is teaching his prayer. Rabbi Farkas is now on vacation. He's off fishing someplace. We want to wish him well. And then when he returns, I'll be leaving and we'll continue with the learning. And we'll be soon bringing you some information about how we're going to be doing high holidays, which is a very, very big process that we've been working on all together. So thank you for being with us. We wish everyone a very, very sweet and pleasant Shabbos and a very safe and joyful 4th of July. If everyone will stand up, we'll do 4th of July Kiddush in the tradition of our ancestors in Boston and Philadelphia.
I just want to say it's really fun to sing with people at the same time as they're singing. Really enjoyed that tonight.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikrahei kodesh Zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat.
Amen. And of course, next Friday night, we'll be back here again. So just go online, look up the form, fill out, check all the boxes and fill out and join us again next Friday night. Next Friday night will be July the 10th. And I think Bastille Day is July the 14th. So we'll do the service in French next week. Shall we?
Let's do.
Do you have a patriotic Adon Olam?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Well, it's Yontif, new. Come on.
Adon Olam asher malach.
בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצה אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
ואחרי
ככלות הכל,
לבדו
ימלוך נורא.
God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
God bless America with healing and with wisdom this year. Amen. Thank you for being part of the service tonight. Be very careful leaving so we don't mess up the social distancing, but please take care of yourself.